What's going on, people? How are we all? How is everybody doing? What's going on, guys? Welcome, welcome, welcome. What's going on, people? How are we all? How is everybody doing? Thanos, Liam, what's going on? Austin, how are we, guys? We'll give it a couple of minutes, everybody gets in the room, and then we will get started. Welcome to the live session. Let me know that you guys can see my screen as well. We'll make the view better. You guys see my screen? Good evening, good evening. Awesome, good stuff. Yeah, it's good to see you guys here. I was looking forward to this live. It's been a while since we've done one. We've had a lot of questions recently. A lot of new people joined the community. A lot of new people discovering, you know, where they want to be by the end of the year. So naturally, things like addressing the big elephant in the room, like your mindset, has always been a big thing as well. And it got me thinking about Q1 as a whole. So what I thought I'd do is I would just go through just some top picks against different instruments that I think that, for not always from a return point of view, but what were the top trades in Q1. What about you guys anyway? How did you get on for Q1? Any key standout positions that you, let's say, missed, trades that you did take, trades that you could have managed a little bit better? Yeah, nice. One more minute and then we're going to get started. Yeah, massive shout out to Rakeem as well, for those of you who have not seen in trade analysis, in the Trading Achievements channel. If you guys have not seen that already, so he's passed on the in-house fund. He's now a portfolio asset manager. Rakeem has been in the community for 3 years, so he's not an overnight success by any means. And we're seeing a lot more of these students come through. And it's so great to see his commitment, his focus, just been getting on with it in the shadows. You get a lot of people like this, that they just crack on with it, move forward, and then they get their rewards. So I'm really proud of the growth that he's made. Very committed individual. And just an overall good person. Like, he wants to do good for the world, very family orientated, and he really shares the values of Falcon. So it's so great to see. It has been a great week. Been a really great week, really profitable across the board, sitting at just under 20% for the month. So I'm happy with that. Still many opportunities to come. 2 big trades missed on Swiss yen, gold, and okay. You got to reverse engineer that. Right, and let's figure out why. So, right, guys, let's get into it. So, we're going to go through these positions. I'm going to start off with euro dollar. Who, out of interest, caught euro dollar? Any of these positions? Sitting at 7.5% after 3 years almost. I finally let the sequence play out. Love that, Liam. First profitable quarter, back-to-back months. Not all a coincidence. All in has made the difference. Yeah, the all in and mindset connected together. Like, I can see it, which is so good to see. Honestly, Liam, big congrats. And this is all you need sometimes. You just need a little bit of a taste of that success that builds confidence. And then again, the momentum cycle. It's very important. But let's actually look at this trade. So euro dollar. We were looking at euro dollar. There was actually quite a lot of trades to choose from. So I've looked at different instruments, from trades that we've taken, trades that were missed trades, but other people took them in the community. So it's kind of a combination of trades that I took and trades that I missed as well, but other people took. But these are the top trades. So this is just a very simple range play on euro dollar. So for euro dollar, we were looking to essentially sell this from this range to the bottom of this range, which the target got met. Now, of course, there was a combination of the DXY happening at the time, but let's just break it down just very simply. Now, I won't go into too much detail, just more so the overall idea of the position itself. So we were essentially looking at this last continuation that sold off, but it sold off a little bit correctively. Now, when it sold off correctively, it left a footprint of what we call in the market. It's usually either just on the edge or 50% of the way in. Now, in this channel, I mean, what a beautiful channel this was in the first place, but we tap into it here. So this is kind of 50% in the range of that move. Notice how price moves correctively away. We come back up to start to test these highs. We come back up. We create a mini double top. There was a trade within here as well. That's actually a missed position. This is what I mean. There were so many trades within euro dollar alone. So well done for those of you that caught that. However, the better one, in my opinion, is when we finally tapped in to this area. Now, we've done it in the form of a channel. So at Falcon, for those of you that don't know, we will look at these type of structures in the right areas. Some people think that we just trade patterns without really understanding the context behind it. We probably trade very similar to maybe how you trade. You just don't know it. We just have a different edge, different entry criteria, different management, etc. So what I liked about this one is that you've got 3 touch, just 3 drives into that area where people are naturally going to get caught on the wrong side of the market. So you've got to ask yourself the question, when we go to the 4-hour chart, the bigger players in the market, if you just look at that massive 4-hour candle, who's creating that? I mean, is that retail? Don't think so, right? So we want to essentially ride the wave. Essentially, all Falcon does is ride the waves of the momentum. It's been that way for 6 years. It's not changed. So when we was looking at this particular structure, we pushed in, and then on the lower time frame, this was a missed trade for me, but then I got the one just underneath. Let's go back to the entry. Let me know if any of you did catch this position or were looking at it. But essentially, this was more of like an AFT style entry, especially from a stop perspective as well. So you've got our entry, which would have been there. So that's our entry right there. And those who are in Falcon, you'll know exactly why and why that is. However, from a target point of view, it's around 21%. And again, subtle little details within there, but it's the simple range play that we're interested in. Sometimes it's not always these fancy moves. It's the fact that it logically made sense where the DXY was positioned, that the DXY was going to go higher, and then guess what? Just from that correlation alone, euro dollar would sell off, and then euro dollar was tapping into this area here, which was 50% of this move, this previous continuation. Tapped into that and just dropped off, and there was quite a few trades, but I would say 2 of the most prominent ones. So first one, this was an absolute beauty. This could have been more of like a profit taking area if you didn't want to hold for any kind of like wild pullbacks, but as a very simple position, very, very nice indeed. And then so I missed that one only just by a little bit, but I missed that one, and then I caught the one just underneath, which was again on the lower time frame, which you would have only been able to really see from AFT as well. So again, a lot of the things that you're doing at a foundational level will build you up to be able to take the more advanced entries. But again, I much prefer the one at the top. The easier one to take was actually when we was in the run of the momentum. So the lesson I wanted to mention here very briefly is this: how you're gonna have effective trading is by understanding where your advantage is. So what do I mean by that? Your advantages ride in the wave of the money, because think about it, you collectively, even if you got 1,000 of your friends that all traded in an account, it still wouldn't be enough. Even 10,000, it wouldn't be enough to actually move the market itself. So if you can't do that, where's your advantage? Well, it's not an all taking the same trade, is it? Your advantage is by understanding who moves the market, where are they positioned. All we do is identify those areas. We start to ride the wave, sometimes a little bit early up in the run, and then when the wave is fully in play, that's where our advantage is, because we're not really at a disadvantage at this stage, because there's so much large volume stacked there. So we essentially get to ride that volume with them. And how do we do that? We identify entry criteria based off of the Falcon strategy, and it really has been as simple as that. So again, this one underneath there, very important reason why this had to be under or slightly through versus just above, because that would have changed the thought process. But happy with that across the board. If you was to go maximum on total, you're easily looking about 26 to 27% in just the two positions, just from the top to the bottom of the range, as pretty much a go-to setup. So really happy with that. Well done for those of you that caught the position. And then this one was less significant, I would say. It was still good, right, but no way near as good as this. And I don't mean it from a number point of view, the fact that that was 21% and the other one had a good 6-7% in it. It was more so this was tapping into something a bit more significant versus this is just kind of a double top in the middle of nowhere in that sense. Like, it's nowhere near as significant, but there still was a beautiful trade just sat underneath here. So really, really like that. Welcome, by the way. For those of you that are just joining the live, good to see you all here. We're just going through a few trades, kind of really recapping part of the quarter. And I wanted to check in with you guys. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in. But just go through what I think are a few of the top positions. Aussie Kiwi, this wasn't on watch for me, but this was a great trade, and I'm going to forecast the future of the trade, which I think will be really helpful so you understand the mechanics behind this. Anyone take Aussie Kiwi today? I know this was on watch for a lot of people that messaged me about this, so you would have taken it, and some of you not so much. So Aussie Kiwi usually is one for me. Let me see if anyone in here had this on watch. So essentially, look at this. And this is going to link to something on pound yen when I show you, so stay tuned for that. Aussie Kiwi, we've been looking at selling this from this area. So price had pushed down, we'd hit our 90% rule, we smashed through that, retested the back end of it, and then we go. And we're aiming for target 1, target 2. Nice and simple. We're in the state of continuation, so we just ride that trend. And then look how conveniently... Let me show you an amateur way of how they would trade Falcon and an advanced way. Let's have a look at this. So an amateur way would be, let's remove all of this, and they would trade that right there just for the sake of it. Maybe get in like this, and then before you know it, they're tagged in. You wouldn't have got in here anyway. I wouldn't say this would be correct, but maybe in this scenario would have walked away with break even. But it would be an example of something like that, where you're just taking it just because it hits 3 touches and you don't really understand the context. So you get tagged in, tagged out for a loss. You're like, oh, that didn't work. No, that is not a good position, and you've not considered anything of the actual structure of it. So notice this. We have a sharp move up. We have a push down. All of this expanding structure you're seeing, this is just volume. And then we get a push up. We tap into that area. We retrace down. We get some momentum to the downside. And then what we would look at in Falcon is a specific entry criteria for a reason. Now, there's a whole bigger picture as to why this is more relevant, but this is more in our AFT section. So again, I wouldn't even be able to explain it here in 10 minutes. But essentially, this pattern here that we was looking for that drive, at least down to this area here for the double bottom within the move, you can see on the 5, entry would have been around 5 a.m. So it's a little bit early. You might have been able to get involved at, let's say, 10 past 5. So it would have been one of those ones. If you was up early enough, I'm generally up around sort of 5 past 5, sometimes 5:15 the latest. Wake up on body clock. That's generally a position I could have got involved in. It just wasn't on watch for me. But that's how I would have had it. And getting closer towards, end of week close, might have locked in a bit more aggressively and been out of that for around sort of 5.5%. I'd be more than happy with that. But if you were just holding it and managing it, you'd have it probably up here with 4% locked in, with the overall bigger target in mind to capitalize on the next trade. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. Yeah, exactly. Right, so it's all part of the learning curve, right? So you have to go through that. Learning curve. But what's really interesting about Aussie Kiwi? So well done for you guys that got involved in this. Look at the makeup and the structure of it. So if you're not in Falcon and you're a bit confused with your technicals, just take a snapshot of that picture and then zoom out just a bit, because a lot of you are too zoomed in. Delete that. Right, so we get rid of this, and then look just above from a structural point of view. Price moving down, potential counterplay, and move back up. 1, 2, 3, and what have we got? We've almost got the same structure repeating itself on a bigger scale for the next move, which means that temporarily we could be looking at a counter long, so you could play that buy into this area. you're tapping into the same area for the same type of reason. It's just on a larger scale that would warrant the next move to the downside. So I wanted to share that kind of pre-forecast with you, if you like. And for those of you that are in the sell positions, of course, start to be aware of that. That if we start hitting, you know, these areas here and it just trickles there, there's a high chance sellers will be getting out of their positions. We'll push up, we'll look for continuation, and we'll be looking for that move before we look for the sell. So there could be a buy into the sell there. So that's going to be an interesting one. Good to see many new faces here as well. You caught Aussie Kiwi, lovely stuff. Wasn't on watch, yeah, same for myself. It looks like it's going to be on watch for next week, that's for sure though. Right, so Aussie Kiwi, nice little forecast there. I think that could be pretty tidy for next week. And then pound Swiss, there was a pound Swiss that I took. Any entry on Kiwi yen? Well, we can have a look at a few things. So I'm just going to go through these top trades first. So pound Swiss, this was another one. I'm not going to go through the entry that I took. This was lower down. It was a lovely entry. However, I want to focus on one that, in my opinion, could really go over people's heads quite quickly. So what we was looking at was, a sell on pound Swiss. Now, pound Swiss, as you can see, sold off here. And when we sold off, again, momentum, who's stepping into the market to create that? It's not retail. And then what do we leave? We leave a little footprint in the market. Price comes down. You see all the volume building here. What eventually happens? We tap into that. We break above. Mass psychology, Falcon 101. We break back in, form the continuation, and then the target is here. And the reason why the target is there is to fill all of these gaps to that low there. That's literally how simple it is. You can go back through older webinars. You can just go and study. This is price structure repeating itself. I do not care how you think you view the markets and you think you've cracked it. Just go back and watch. I don't have a crystal ball, but structure is structure. It hasn't changed. And you might be so zoomed in that you think it has, but the structure is the structure. This was an AFT entry, 100%. There was actually a few ways to take this, but I'll show you this one. So on pound Swiss, this was more top end, about 10%. Now you could have taken it within the flag. You could have taken it on the break of the flag, which, you know, maybe had a bit less, about 9%. There was an entry at the top that was a bit on the riskier side. We then had another entry, which was in here. This was more on the flat, which you would have probably got out of this one for, yeah, you would have got out of that one for about 4.6. And then of course we had the one in here, which, depending on your stop, there was a good 4 or 5%. Some of you may have even got out a little bit more. So there's trades all the way through is the point that I'm making, right? You've got, that one's a bit more on the steeper side, so I wouldn't worry so much about that. But you essentially have a slightly riskier one at the top. You have your next trade there, you have another trade there, and you have another trade here. So in one run, you can milk quite a few positions. And you can see there's a clear thesis behind it. We're essentially just riding the wave of the bigger players. That's it. That's all we cared about. And you could see that on, especially on the daily, right? So I'll just give you a little tip. If I take it back to, let's say here. If you're looking at that, right, just objectively, if you're looking at that, however you're trading, and I just remove this as well. Forget, because people often will comment on something that they've not watched, so they'll see a trend line and say, "Oh, you can't trade off of trend lines." Who said we're trading off of trend lines? Right? Trend lines are just guides, right? We're looking at areas. We're looking at points of the market of mass psychology. We're looking at the bigger players that are stepping in. If we have a trend line, just to clarify, because I think people are still they don't use any brain cells and still make those type of comments. So for example, just so you understand, if this is like this, 1, 2, 3, we don't let price get to that trend line and go, right, let's put a sell or let's put a buy. We don't do that. There's context behind everything that we do. We will have it in to identify what structure we're dealing with. So when you just look at this objectively from a high time frame point of view, where do you think that candle is going? As simple as that. And if you look at the size of the candle, what is creating that daily candle? Is that retail, or is that the bigger institutions and the funds? This is what I mean about just understanding and looking out and saying, right, where are the bigger players positioned? Why is this important to you as a trader? Well, listen, day to day, you've got a lot going on, life, job, all kinds of things, and you're trying to navigate through that. You're trying to navigate through your emotional state, which will be your biggest problem versus your technicals. Listen, there's probably 1,000 profitable edges out there, but there is only one mind. You have to think like a professional and a profitable trader. There's loads of profitable edges, one mind. So if you can see that's where they're positioned, if let's say you was looking at euro dollar and pound Swiss, and euro dollar was, you know, looking okay, but not really backed by the higher time frame, no higher time frame narrative, yet pound Swiss does, and I can see where they're positioned. Where's my advantage? Is it with euro dollar or is it with pound Swiss? Just as a simple lesson, my advantage is not with EU in this scenario, it's with pound Swiss, because I can see on a daily the bigger players are positioned here. I want to take advantage of that follow through. So that's why it would help me to be able to navigate through that watch list and go, right, this is where I want to allocate my capital and take that risk. Make sense, guys? It's really as simple as that. And what I really like about pound Swiss is look at what it done on the 4 hour there. Typical. That there, what do we think that is? Right, complete washout. Wash all the orders out, push back in, continuation, and then we start to get long, which we've been looking at pound Swiss long. So this is all a much more simple way to view the market. The challenge comes in you actually pulling the trigger in the right state of mind, which is why we have things like Rewired. You have to learn to think like a professional trader. There's lots of great technical people out there, but they still don't seem to be able to make the right decisions under pressure. And that's all an emotional response, nothing technical. Even though the phrases like stop hunt, kill zone, market manipulation, think about it, right? All of these words negatively will impact you from a subconscious level. This is the problem. Lots of traders are constantly looking at the markets from a negative frame point, low frequency, low vibration, almost in a state of, oh, the market's out to get me. Oh, that's where the brokers are going to stop me out. They're so focused on the negative sides of it versus being in the right state of mind. So although that may be true, it may be a stop hunt. Regardless, don't let your ego get so involved in the market that you think it's about you. The same way, the market doesn't know that you took a loss before you took a win. It doesn't know that you took a break even before the win, or the win before a win. It doesn't know. It's the random sequence. So the fact that you can't control that, don't try to put too much of yourself in it, where it's you against the market. That's where a lot of emotions can happen, right? So keep it as simple as possible. Exactly. We'll rebrand them to guidelines, put it that way. Mark, please explain hook point / footprint and override, how we view your liquidity. I would need a 2-hour webinar for that, my friend. So if you want to learn that fully, click the link in the description, sign up to Falcon. You'll have access to absolutely everything. And I mean that seriously, purely because even if I did explain it in 45 minutes, you still wouldn't understand it, because there's certain scenarios that you need to go through. I'm actually explaining it as we're talking about it now. That's more of the base overview. The intricate details are lessons laid out for that particular reason, which is why, listen, someone can show you, look, this is what this means, this is what this means. Again, until you've seen enough scenarios in the market and it play out, you're still not going to understand it, because there's different variables that happen within it. So I can say, look, a footprint in the market is where, for example, there's a lot of volume, put it this way, there's a lot of volume stacked in one area that price tends to snap back to, almost like a magnet. That would be my simple way to explain it to you. So if this is going to snap back to that like a magnet, why would that be of importance to you? Well, in the moment, you can then identify, I can see that the market is snapping back to something significant, and that is where the bigger players could step into the market. Therefore, when we do step into the market, I want to be involved in that area, because I want to basically ride the wave of the bigger players, because that's where my advantage is. That would be the more simple way to explain it. So maybe sit with that thought a little bit. That could be useful to you. But for those of you that seriously want to learn more and go through it step by step, you have to invest into your education. There's no shortcut in this game, unfortunately. And I wouldn't look for them either, because you'll be in the same position a year from now, 2 years from now, that never Never skimp on investing in yourself, put it that way. This video will be uploaded, so you will have it. I'm very new to Forex trading, and the reason why I say this, right? Trading is, think about it like this, trading is difficult enough as it is. You know, by learning education, listen, whether you sign up to Falcon or anywhere else, that does not guarantee your success. So if you know that it's difficult as it is, even when you invest into yourself to pay for a membership, to learn how to trade and get all of the resources, the whole pathway laid out to you, and you already know that's difficult, what do you think the chances are if you're just hanging around on YouTube and just trying to find free material? Think about that. If it's already difficult when you invest, I invested thousands upon thousands before I made a single penny, right? So I understood that naturally, right? I'm not gonna, there's only so much I'm gonna be able to get online for free because no one could give me that attention for free. So if it's already difficult when you invest in yourself, what's the chances that you just stumble across on YouTube for a little bit and go, yeah, I made it, I made a success? It's not very common is the point. Not impossible, but if time is important to you guys, then it's really key that you use it wisely. But look, let's take a look at a different instrument. Now, many of you always message in, can I trade on synthetic indices? Can I trade on crypto? Can I trade Falcon with the NAS 100? Can I trade with the US 30 or any kind of indices? That's where I thought I'd bring this position into play. So this is, again, very, very simple trade. But if you look at the overall idea, what we was looking to play here is this bigger continuation. So notice the psychology that I want you to learn from this. This is actually going to be one of the most valuable lives. If you really listen to the things that I've spoke about on this live, it's actually one of the most valuable lives. I was almost in like pre-Falcon webinar mode at this point. I need to hold back a little bit. However, you can see from a psychological standpoint, look at these lows, right? They get breached, market moves to the downside, shakes all the orders out, then we go back in, the bigger players are positioned. So when we're looking at this continuation expanding, within that, where is our advantage? Our advantage is this is a very direct move to the upside. We're likely going to minimum tap into that high where that ray line is there. So on the lower time frames, if we can get our entry Falcon based, we basically take advantage of the last part of the run. That's how simple the trade idea is. Now let me show you the actual trade itself, which there was a few ways that you could take this position. Anyone take this, by the way? Anyone get involved in this position? So there's a few ways you could take this one. AFT normally there was a couple. So there was the first entry at the bottom, and there was the second one. This is more AFT as well. Stop was okay. Again, our advantage is knowing that the bigger players are positioned to the upside. So think about it from a thought process point of view. So then everything in between is just a little bit of noise, to be honest. And it's your job as a trader to figure out, right, the difference between the noise and the structure, because then you can actually identify the consistencies within the structure. So this was a simple continuation play within this move, and then it would have banged by the time he was out of it if you took this trade, which is definitely one of the highlight positions because we tap into the override area, and then this would have been where you locked in a bit more aggressive of your stops. So yeah, 15-1. Very simple position overall. Yeah, that was lovely. Let's have a look here for any questions. Mark, when you're creating your watch list for next week, what do you look for in pairs in order for them to be part of your watch list for the week ahead? I basically just scan everything. I look at the trades that I took for the week, if I have taken any positions. I then look at my watch list, I start fresh, and then I'm starting with a higher time frame. So naturally, I will already have an instinct that, right, Aussie Kiwi already, I already know it's probably going to be on my watch list. I don't know if it's going to be in my top 6 yet or my wildcards because the market's not closed and things can change. However, I will already have a good idea from a higher time frame. So my thought process is always high time frame into lower time frame, and then I build it like that. So I'm essentially scanning through, looking at these are the most prominent high time frame trades where I can see they're positioned in the right areas, and then I'll go into the lower time frame and see, right, some things you could basically go to the lower time frame like the 1 hour, and you would be able to tell in like a fraction of a second this is easily going to be like 4 or 5 days to play out. So that might go into a wild card, or it depends what it is, right? But I'm the overall framework is higher time frame into lower time frame, and then slowly filter out those trades and compare them to different scenarios. There's a lot more into it. I would have to do a full video on that, and maybe I'll do that in the future. So a quick one on pound yen before we finish off with a bit of a Q&A. But the reason why I wanted to mention the pound yen trade is that this wasn't the most ridiculous return, but definitely one of the top picks for Q1. So again, simple 5% position. What can you see? Liquidity point there is what I call a footprint. So that footprint, the market has left that footprint. Eventually, it's going to snap back to that area, either just tag it or completely breach it like a magnet. So what does price do? We come back to that area. Look at the gaps, right? Gap, gap, gap. Eventually, we tag it. So this trade idea here, this is what we was looking for. Eventually, we have actually started that move. Not in the exact sequence that we wanted with this particular one. However, the thought process was there. So if we go to the 1 hour and look at the pound yen trade, as you can see there, looking back, we can kind of understand from the nature of this into the nature of this, but it had more than enough to take the trade. You can take this on the lower time frame, 15-minute, etc. It was a very simple play with a lot of potential. So the potential of this position was more so looking at it to head down to these areas. So we had a massive potential on this one for about 45%. Now there's going to be inflection points along the way. You probably won't hold the whole trade. So let's say a more conservative target was around a 15 to 1, 14.3 around there. It might go into that one just below for about nearly 17. That was the idea behind the trade anyway. So if you just look at the mechanics of the position, footprint, gaps, market snaps back to it, and then we're looking for that move. Now, let me go back to Aussie Kiwi so you understand. Look at the same psychology, right? What's that? Footprint. This is obviously a very, very long-winded one, but you can see all of these gaps. Eventually, we snap back to that, and then we go. Now, when we look at the lower time frame, even just the trade today, what's happening? What does the market leave again? And you can, this is, if you pay attention here, you'd be learning something so valuable in this short period of time. What have we got here? Footprint, gap, market tags into it, push down, continuation, then go. And then what did I forecast for the next week to help you guys out, which is this one higher up. Sharp move up, price comes down, gap comes down, gap comes down, counter long into here, and then the sell. So the same way that Aussie Kiwi has committed to this idea that we had right from the top. I actually took a trade right up here as well that ended in a break even, I believe. Right, but look at the trade idea right from the top around here. And that is why pound yen had all the potential from the same psychology. On a different day, this plays out, even at least to these areas. We're talking nearly 17, 18 to 1. So that is stunning. But that was the idea anyway. I just wanted to pick out some top picks. There could have been so many more, so many scale-ins. There was so much potential on the table. And look, what's the date today? We are at the 17th, right? So over halfway through the month. We've still got more to go. There's still plenty of opportunities to come. Q1 hasn't even finished yet. I just want you to start thinking about the fact that Q1 is a very profitable quarter as a whole. And the reason why we know that as well is that look at the amount of people that are scaled up on funding, right? So for those of you in Falcon, you know what I mean. It's been ridiculous. I don't have Facebook, by the way. I don't have Telegram. Don't have Facebook. I'm not on any of these things. I have Instagram, and it's just one Instagram. So my Instagram is connected to the Falcon Instagram. So if you go on the Falcon page on IG, I don't know why I'm still having to explain this. If you go on the Falcon IG, and you'll see in there at Hutchinson Mark. So, and then you'll see in my bio on Hutchinson Mark back to Falcon. That's how you know the connection. There's nothing else. So I won't DM you first. I won't message you. I won't ask you to invest in anything. It's just those accounts. Mark, the trades many people took in the community this week was EuroCAD. Would you have taken it knowing fully that we could drop because of a high area of value, point of interest for the sell? I'll dig into that in the into the SMB. So I'll make that a priority to dig in the SMB, and I'll break that down for you. Advice on stalking trades, as in how do you know that you have to be on the charts, minimizing trades. This comes down to a lot of things, you know, like trading plan, making sure you're clear on what you're looking for, belief system, making sure that your belief system isn't someone who, you know, needs to be in a trade every single day. Do you know how many traders do this, where they feel like they should just constantly be in the markets and they cannot help themselves? They don't know how to sit on their hands, basically, and it takes time to develop that. Hey Mark, how can I risk 1% trade using Falcon? Literally by risking 1%. You don't even need to risk 1%. You can risk 0.5% if you want. Mark, I'm struggling with missing positions. I'm doing the forecast beforehand and somehow still missing the entry, and these missed positions end up in profit while ones I take end up in a loss. Psychological. A lot of that is psychological. You know, the thing is, when you focus, what you focus on expands. So if you keep focusing on missed trades, you end up attracting more of them. And you might be thinking, how could I attract missed trades? It's not that you attract the trades directly, it's that you attract the behavior that misses the trades. So I want you to sit with that thought. You attract the behavior that misses the positions itself. So you need to really do an audit and have the self-awareness to realize, right, why am I behaving this way? What is my thought process when I make this same mistake over and over again? Are you missing trades due to a lack of preparation, and then you just kind of basically repeat the same behavior unconsciously? So it's not always obvious. So I would do a good audit. What's your routines like? You have to go into your external things that are not related to trading, more mindset related, I would say, on this. And the only other option would be that maybe the trading plan's not as clear. It could be too complex, and that could be creating a lot of hesitation as well. I appreciate the love, guys. There you go. Any views on indices? Well, we covered Germany 30. You can trade Falcon on pretty much any instrument that you like. We predominantly like to trade foreign currency, so we stick to those. You can have some, you know, wheat, gold, silver, NAS, S&P. That's fine. There's going to be some instruments that are in some really valuable areas, but yeah, these are the top ones. If you actually start tallying all of that up, in Q1 alone, there must have been something ridiculous, like I would say 400% to 500% available of profitable positions, which is ridiculous when you think about it. However, capitalizing on all of that, you know, very difficult. Are you going to be awake on all those trades? No. Are you going to be there to scale into the trade? No. You're not always going to be there, but it's good to know that there's such a broad scope of profitable positions that puts you in an abundant state of mind that goes, right, I don't need to catch all of these trades. What I do need to is just catch some of them. And by catching some of them and being consistent, you know you're going to have a profitable time. So we've had a lot of those. Especially we've had the most amount of people funded this quarter than ever before. Literally, it has been ridiculous. We've had people get to the next levels, and it's I think Q2 we're going to aim to beat Q1. Q1 was very, very strong. We're going to aim to beat Q1 with Q2. I'm confident that we can do that. We've got a lot of people in the pipeline as well that are not that far away from passing on their funding assessments as well. So it's naturally we're aiming towards getting, my ideal number would be about 5 per week, right? So about 20 traders per month. And that's just on the in-house fund. That's not external funds as well. We have people passing on external funds all the time, right? Some people are low key about it. Some people like to talk about it. That's fine. But just from I would say more Falcon in-house perspective, a really, really solid milestone would be 20 a month. Because with that, you got to understand, not everyone will get to 7 figures very quickly. Now, we've got massive plans with our trading floors and all of the expansion plans and infrastructure that Falcon has spent 6 years investing and building to get to this stage. We have to push more traders. It's part of the reputation. It's part of everything. So I'm very much looking forward to that. So next priority is making sure, how do we learn from Q1, celebrate the wins, and of course recap Q1 success, because it has been amazing. And there's easily another 5 to 6 people within the next couple of weeks will be passing on the fund and also joining people to become portfolio asset managers. So onwards and upwards. And this is what I said to you guys quite a few years ago. You have to learn which horse that you want to back. Don't make your decisions on a temporary emotion. Don't get sucked into the noise, and do what is tried and tested that is going to be here for the next 5 years, 10 years, 15, 20 years. You want to build a long-standing trading career. That's what people in the community are doing. which is why now you're seeing the magnitude of success. And this is just starting. Wait till you see in the next couple of years. You don't want to be that person in the position where maybe you joined Falcon for a couple of months, you dabbled here and there, you tried different strategies, and you're still that system hopper that just can't stick to one thing, and you had everything in front of you, because those same people are scaling up. Very, very important to note. Not mixing anything. Not mixing anything. Just Falcon 101. The thing is, naturally, right, even without mixing, someone might call it supply and demand, someone will call it SMC, someone will call it whatever. The reality is we're riding the wave of the banks. That's all you should care about. We're riding the wave of the momentum of the money, and then we are carefully getting involved in those entry criterias that are specific to our strategy, which is our edge. Mark, as a member, how can I get info on the in-house fund? Just send a message in the chat, of course in the Discord, and then we will get you access. No fundamentals or any news. We literally just focus on price action, and we have done from day one. Listen, you can be aware of some news here and there are some major ones that you cannot be ignorant to it. You can't be ignorant to it when you're trading on funded accounts as well, because of rules and stipulations. But generally speaking, if you factored in every news announcement, you'd be paralyzed. You'd never take a trade. But right, guys, I just wanted to jump on. I mean, literally 40 minutes have just flown by on this live, but I wanted to just jump on and just share a few things and just some top picks of Q1. Let you know, of course, the success that we've had this quarter, which we're very, very proud of, because it's not one of these things that, it's not the overnight success. It's the people that have been really, really putting in the work. I'm so incredibly proud of the work ethic, the mentality that everybody is showing in the community, and onwards and upwards. It's going to be a strong month, and I know that in 3 to 4 months from now, we're going to see some seriously big milestones being hit. And then come the end of the year, honestly, I can't even put into words, end of the year, it's going to ruffle a lot of feathers. That's for sure. Mark, come back to the live. Mark my words, end of the year, it's already happening. So I'm looking forward to celebrating that. Celebrating wins with a lot of people that have put some time in for years. And I want to see the biggest payouts, the biggest milestones hit, and of course the internal growth as well. So people can start actually building a future, building a life. There's people out here just disrespecting the industry and treating it like an absolute circus, you know, rinsing funded accounts, trying to flip accounts, amateurs in the industry. This is about the professionalism of how do you actually build a sustainable, long-standing career that you can make money for decades and decades. That's the mindset that you need to be in. So I'm pumped for it. But guys, thank you for your time and attention in the live. I really appreciate everyone jumping in. And if you have any questions about Falcon, where we're heading, always feel free to reach out to the Falcon IG or send us a message. We're happy to get back to you. But I appreciate you all. Right, I'm going to get into some deep analysis as we kind of come towards the close. It's where I do a lot of my prep work, looking over things, assessing trades. And I've got a lot of things to get on with from now until the end of the evening. And then I'll be into the S&B prep. So looking forward to forecasting for the week ahead. It's looking very promising. It's going to be one of those ones where we might have to be a bit patient for the next week, because there's a lot of these moves that look like they're going to take a slightly longer to play out, which means patient in the first 24 hours of the market open. But again, things can change over the next couple of hours, so we'll monitor that. But keep an eye on Aussie Kiwi. I've got a strong feeling that Aussie Kiwi is going to provide the goods for next week. But have an incredible one, everyone. And I will catch you in the next live. Let us know in the comments, for those of you that are tuning in. Of course, we don't do lives on a regular basis, but when we do them, I love engaging with you guys. So I appreciate you following the channel, subscribing to it, and really being part of this journey. As to the more you've invested into the Falcon channel's invested back into you. And that's incredibly why we've grown. So if you have any specific things that you would like to see more of in the live, please, after this live, head over, like the video, share it with your friends, all your trading friends, and of course actually be specific in the comments versus saying that you like the video. Actually really think about a thought out question. What would you think would be beneficial to you in the live that you think would be helpful? Apart from giving you signals, that is. So let us know. I'd absolutely love to know. But have a great one. Enjoy the rest of your Friday evening. Smash your weekend, and let's get ready for a big week next week, guys. Take care, everyone. Have a great one. Peace out, people. I'll catch you in the next live. And make sure you stay focused from now until the end of this month. A couple of weeks away, we are going to be finishing Q1. Get your head in the game. We've got a long year ahead of us, guys. Have a great one, and I'll catch you soon.